So today marks officially the completion of the 1 year of making a video every day for a year. Today is day 365. And it's been quite an experience. I'm actually going to make a video tomorrow, do +1 extra day, summarizing kind of more broadly what the experience has been and what I took away from it. But I thought for today's video, for the last one of the official year, I would focus in on kind of the core insight, the most important topic that, interestingly enough, kind of started the process and got me to a place where I wanted to make videos every day for a year. Came up constantly and consistently throughout the year of making these videos. And as I think about the next steps and takeaways and things I want to carry forward in my life, it's also super prevalent there. And I'll position it as kind of three C's that I think are the critical things that we need to think about. And actually, as I do that, I'm going to make it 4 C's right on the fly. I'm going to add a 4th C here because I really do think there are 4 critical C's to all this. The first one I'll say is clarity, right? Clarity is so unbelievably important. If there was only one C, it would be clarity. That would be the most important C, because the way I talk about all these things, right, and what we're talking about is how we make better decisions, right? How we formulate our beliefs, how we think, how we make decisions, what actions we take, all of that coming from how we think, right? And the decisions we're making on a day-to-day basis. Well, to make a good decision, you have to have clarity on all the inputs that go into that decision. You have to have the internal clarity to know about yourself and how you're wired and how your emotions trigger you and biases you might have and identity issues you might have and things you're good at and things you're bad at. You need to have that view with as much clarity as you can, and you need external clarity. You need to understand what's happening out there. If there's other people involved in this thing that you're doing, what's their view? How are they playing it out? Are there good faith actors? Are there bad faith actors? What's all the data? What's all the information? You need all of that, right? And you need to have clarity. You may not have all that information, but you need clarity on that, that there's components you're missing, and there's going to be some assumptions that have to be made, and you're not sure about certain things. But that clear picture, right? They always talk about it as a windshield. Having your windshield clear so you can actually see what's in front of you, right? If you're trying to get somewhere, if you're trying to get to some objective or some target, which you have to be, right? It's got to be framed in that way. You need to know what success looks like. Clarity on where that thing is and what's blocking you from getting there is key. And understanding not only the importance of clarity, but identifying if you have it or if you don't. Because that kind of leads to the second C, which is what happens so often is people assume they have clarity, or they just kind of take it for granted. They don't even really think about it. And that leads to the second C, which is certainty. And that's perhaps the dirtiest word in all of this over the last year. That's the big thing that we're trying to avoid. Because when you don't have clarity, right, and you don't appreciate or don't recognize that you don't have clarity, it's very easy to have certainty. Things seem simple. They seem easy, right? You have this mistaken view that everything's obvious. It's exactly how I think about it. Or I heard one piece of information or a few pieces of information, or I watched a documentary or an interview, or whatever it might be, and oh, okay, that's it. Now I have clarity. Therefore, now I have certainty. And once you have certainty, right, once you are 100% certain that you know the answer on this topic, or that your belief is absolutely right, or that this action is absolutely the action you have to take, 100%, zero doubt, well, you've lost objectivity then. Right? You stop taking in additional inputs. You just go based on what you know. And there's no opportunity for you to improve. There's no opportunity for you to even recognize if you might be wrong. Right? So certainty goes hand in hand with not having clarity. When you have clarity, true clarity, it's extremely hard to be certain because you recognize what you don't know and how much of it can kind of go off the rails and can be false assumptions or all different things that lead us down a path. So you need clarity so that you can avoid certainty. Right? That's the key. So that you have that healthy, what we call ferocious open-mindedness paired with ferocious skepticism. You need both, right? You need both of those. Certainty does not really fit into that equation. So how do you get there? How do you actually get to that place where you have clarity and therefore you know when and when not to be certain? Well, the third C I would say is curiosity, right? You need to be curious. You need to be questioning. The name of this channel, the name of what I talk about is a drogo, which, if I understand it right, is to question in Latin. That's what it means, right? So I thought that was kind of a kitschy, kind of cool title. But the point is the important point. to question. You have to question, but it can't just be blind questioning. It can't be unstructured questioning. It needs to be mathematically logical questioning, not literal math, but figuratively. You need to take a very, very logical, rational, analytical approach to your questioning. Now, that doesn't mean that you dismiss emotions and feelings and that stuff doesn't fit in because this is cold and logical. No, no, no. When I speak of logic, I speak of a broader logic, which means you are taking in all those things because you want clarity. You want the clearest picture possible, and those are inputs. We do not dismiss those. So we look at the data, we look at the facts, we look at the feelings, we look at the emotions, we look at anecdotal evidence, we look at all of it because we want clarity. To get clarity, you have to be curious. You have to get and seek objective truth. You may never get there, but that has to be the goal, to go after that. And you get there by questioning and challenging and being curious and not relying on assumptions you think are there, right? Looking for biases, looking for blind spots, pushing, questioning. We've talked about it in a way of like a checkmate line of questioning. I won't get into it fully here, but your mind is going to battle you on this curiosity, right? Your mind wants certainty. That's simpler. It's easier. It saves energy. You can't have it. You cannot allow it. So you have to be intentionally curious, mathematically logical in your approach so that your mind doesn't get any easy outs. It forces it down a path to where you're following the logical thread, and you can be confident when you get towards the end that it will bring you as much clarity as you can get. But that can only take you so far, right? That leads to the fourth C, courage. Courage. I often talk about this as mental toughness. Why is this so important? Because if you do the third C right, if you're curious and you're mathematically logical and you follow the path and you get to answers, you will inevitably face things that I would call inconvenient truths about yourself or about the world. Things that you now have clarity on that you were probably subconsciously but intentionally suppressing because they bring discomfort. They are difficult to swallow. We do not want to believe them often. They're about ourselves and the type of people we are, the type of parents or husband or person in general, whatever it might be. We do not like them. But if they are true whether we like them or not. So if we want to improve, if we want to get to whatever that objective is, right? Well, we've followed the curious path. We've gotten clarity as best as we can. We've avoided certainty, so we're open to it. But now we need the courage to actually do the hard things, to step right into that fire of that inconvenient truth that we hate, and not just face it one time, right? Through that curiosity and that questioning, but face it every day, every hour, every minute, every second, so that we can actually change and make a difference and allow ourselves to reach that objective. So you need that courage. You need that mental toughness to get you through that, because our bodies, our minds are going to want to avoid that discomfort at all costs. But remember, right, if we have this, if we follow the curious path, right, and we get that clarity and we avoid that certainty and we have the courage to actually act on it, that's where true progress comes from.